Before we begin, I want to give a big shout out to Frank Childs for suggesting this video. Thanks, Frank. Before we begin, please hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell so you don't miss a single one of our upcoming videos. In this episode of Spotlight TV, we're going back some 70 years to the 1950s and 1960s to visit and remember Skeets McDonald. Now, Skeets was an American country and rockabilly star of the 1950s and 1960s, who is best known for the song Don't Let the Stars Get in Your Eyes, written by Slim Willett. McDonald's favorite form of country music was what is classified as honky-tonk. This was demonstrated in both his singing and songwriting. His work helped to lessen the distance between country music and the emerging rock and roll. So sit back and relax, and let's take a look at this legend. It was on October 1st, 1915, as Americans wondered if they would be drawn into the war in Europe, that Mrs. McDonald gave birth to her youngest of 7 children in the small town of Greenway, Arkansas. She named him Enos William McDonald. Now, Enos was given his nickname early in his childhood for calling mosquitoes Skeets. In the early 1930s, his older brother left home and moved to Detroit, Michigan. It wasn't long before Skeets followed him. It was in Detroit that Skeets joined his first band, the Lonesome Cowboy, in 1935. It wasn't too long afterwards that McDonald was playing in Flint and Pontiac, at local clubs and on the radio with his own band. Now, in 1943, Skeets would have to put his musical dreams on hold after being drafted. America was in the midst of World War II. McDonald packed up his bags and headed to North Africa and the Far East, where he would serve his time. While there, he earned a Bronze Star. This gives us an indication of the man's character. Once Skeets was discharged from military service, he made his way to Dearborn, Michigan, where he resumed his career in radio, began to appear on the new medium television. Now, it was in 1950 with Johnny White and his Rough Riders that McDonald cut his first record for Fortune Records. Also, as Skeets Saunders, he made some cuts for London and Mercury Records. In 1951, McDonald made the decision to move to Los Angeles, California. Soon he would become a regular on Cliffy Stone's Hometown Jamboree. He would later be seen on the Town Hall television show. It wouldn't be long before Capitol Records would come calling. Capitol Records viewed him as their answer to Columbia Records' popular singer Lefty Frizzell. The one condition that Capitol Records had for signing him was that he continued releasing country music, as opposed to that rockabilly music that McDonald had been experimenting with since the war. While at Capitol Records, McDonald recorded more than 80 songs for the label. This included his 1952's mad country hit, Don't Let the Stars Get in Your Eyes. That song was number 1 for 18 weeks on the chart. Now, Skeets McDonald appeared on the Ozark Jubilee in the latter part of 1950s as he continued to record for Capitol Records. The Country's Best was his last album for Capitol. It was in 1959 that McDonald made the move to Columbia Records. McDonald signed with Columbia in 1959 and spent a decade there, recording some excellent West Coast hillbilly, as well as some forays into the rockabilly. It was at this time that McDonald hired the young guitar whiz Eddie Cochran to back him in the studio for You Ought to See Grandma Rock and Heartbreaking Mama. Although they are considered now to be rockabilly classics, neither made much of an impact on the charts at the time. He did, however, have several hits on the Billboard Country chart. This included This Old Heart, 1960, which reached number 21, Call Me Mr. Brown, 1963, which reached number 9, Big Chief Buffalo Nickel, Desert Blues, 1966, and number 29, and Mabel, 1967, number 28. During this time, he made appearances on the Grand Ole Opry and the Big D Jamboree in Dallas, Texas. His songs included I'll Make Believe, Big Family Trouble, I Need Your Love, and The Echo of Your Footsteps. It was in 1964. He released the album Call Me Skeets. McDonald made several movie appearances, including Saddle Pals with Johnny Mac Brown, Ma and Pa Kettle Go to Town, 1950, The Glenn Miller Story, 1954, and HUD, 1963, singing Driftwood on the River with Janet McBride. In later years, McDonald moved his style more toward rock and roll, but refused to move far from the tear-jerking songs which made his name. When he was told by reviewers he belonged to another age, he took it as a compliment to his dedication. Now, sadly, McDonald died from a heart attack on March 31st, 1968, in Los Angeles. He was just 53 years old. Okay, that's the end of our video. I sure hope you enjoyed it. If you like this type of video and want us to keep producing them, please like and subscribe. And as always, thank you very much for watching.